Platoon sergeant, you good? All right. Company, attention. Let's go. Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey the Commissioner. I'm here in the building. I know y'all probably get tired of seeing y'all face. Y'all see me on Thursdays. Y'all see me on Sundays. Y'all finna see me on Mondays. Y'all gonna see. I might get every day of the week if I get an opportunity until this thing crack off. But in case I got a good idea, I'm very sure y'all have a good idea of what it is we talk about. I got two people that aren't strangers to the platform, of course, and we're going to talk about tournaments. But there's some other stuff in which I want to speak about, in which if they can answer, so be it. Anyone that be in the comments that's listening, so be it. You can answer too. If anyone cares to hit me up and be like, hey, I want to come on and give my take, so be it. But we're going to get back into it. But in any case, it's that season again, military basketball. And what better time to have a platform is than Veterans Day. So, of course, if y'all have been paying attention, y'all know it. I know y'all caught the Fort Sam Houston and Friends cast that Dre and Alex did, in which they was talking about what is new to the community, in which that's going to be hashtag community Veterans Day basketball tournament that's going down November 9th to 11th. Y'all going to get a chance to hear about that more in depth, so we can sit up and talk to. He talked to the military community. It's probably some other people who ain't hear about it, so we're definitely going to tap in and listen to that. Gentlemen, what's good with y'all? How y'all been?
Good, man. Very good.
We've been good, man. Just excited for the tournament.
I'm very sure getting ready for the tournament, starting to plan and get everything cracking. So it's almost that time. It's like T-minus at this point. I hope all the everything is a go. You got everything checked and ready to go. So like I said, started off right. I'm going to start off like this. Community. Key thing in which I look at is community when I think about military basketball, right?
Right.
And before we get into the nuts and bolts of the Veterans Day tournament, I'm very sure it's going to segue into what I'm about to basically say. So I've been sitting on the outside on the sidelines, rub elbows with a couple of y'all, as well as some of y'all brethren, the players, and all that type of stuff when we come to talk about military basketball. We even did a little spurt in what the state of military basketball was. So of course we don't want to keep on smacking them side the head and beating it or whatever case like that. But I think community, and I think about what presumably what the tenets of military basketball was founded on, right? However, as a person on the outside looking in, I worked MWR for the Air Force. I worked with FSS for the Air Force, MWR for the Army, was sports specialist for the Army at that time. Close to some of the people that work FSS for the sports side. And this seems, from my standpoint, to be a division when it comes to military basketball. And the tenets are built on the military, which there's no devices when we talk about military. Like we talk shit, Air Force, Navy, Army, and all that type of stuff when it comes down to the service games and stuff like that. Matter of fact, who was it? Nigga Navy win it this year? Was the Navy the got gold? Shout out to Navy taking gold this year for the men, and Air Force for the women. But so from y'all standpoint, right? Because now we have a tournament that's separate from any other tournament. And I understand why sometimes this happens, and we'll get into that as well. But do y'all see a divisiveness as well? Or do y'all, you know what I'm saying, does it go unseen or unheard upon from y'all standpoint?
Go ahead, Dre. I'll let you go first.
It's obviously clear. It's a clear divisiveness. It's a clear divisiveness on it's a clear divisiveness. Everybody knows I'm a little rowdy. That's how I coach and that's how I am. But in terms of the divisiveness, it's just, everybody just thinks that their way is right, and there's not really much of a compromise on that. You can't really expect people, like if nobody's willing to talk to the other side and kind of compromise and, never kind of go anywhere. You're kind of forced to choose sides. Where it gets crazy is when you start to bring up things like sabotage, right? When you start to not only like it's one thing to disagree, but it's another thing to try to ruin, right? To go out your way to not only degrade but kind of demean the other side, like as if the other side isn't good or the other side isn't whatever. So, and you can think that, but there's people in certain organizations that take actions. Right now, you're talking about actually doing something, and which is of course only going to lead to more hate because now their fielders need to respond. I could think what I think. I could think that your league sucks. I could think that it's not competitive, all that. But I'm not actively making phone calls or doing things to try to undermine you because I understand that overall that affects the soldiers. And so where I think that it gets lost is that we're all doing this for the soldiers, right? Despite how I am, despite, everybody knows I talk a lot of shit and things like that. My program is ultimately extremely beneficial for the soldiers that's a part of it, right? From everything about it. So I think that that's where, it kind of gets separated is why don't we ask the soldiers what they want instead of, being egotistical and thinking that we know the right way because we're a senior NCO who's been disconnected from the younger generation for a long time. Or we were an officer who never was connected to this side, of the military. And so I think there's a lot of assumptions going on instead of just asking players what they prefer.
Okay. Coach Miller?
So there's definitely a divide, right, in military basketball. I think obviously what we're doing, we've kind of thrown our hat in the ring as well, right? But what I know is everybody talks about wanting to do what's best for the service members, veterans, whether active duty, reservists, dependents. If you believe in contractors that support the military being allowed to participate or not, that's kind of each person's individual thing, right? What I believe is that if you participate in, and you served in the military, and you served honorably, right? Like I don't think that you come in, you get dishonorable discharge, and then you are able to just still do the same things as somebody that served honorably. But at the same time, those people that also, depending on what you were discharged for, whatever your discharge status was, you may be the person that needs this support the most, honestly. So I don't think that we should just completely turn our backs on some of that. I think there's some people that get discharged and get weird discharges for stuff that shouldn't be what it was, right? Like 20 years ago, you get a DUI. I mean, when I first went in the Marine Corps, some of the dudes that were higher up, they had 2-3 DUIs. They were still getting promoted. Now you can't even touch a DUI. And so I'm not saying that you should have the DUI times change and you obviously have to adjust with that, But what I know is that everything is built on supporting service members or giving them an outlet for something, whether it's active duty, reservists, veterans. We don't really give veterans that much support, let's be real. Like when they leave the military, you go to the VA system, you wait 6 months, a year for an appointment. Like how much support are we really giving to, mental health awareness or veteran homelessness or all that type of stuff, or drug addictions, alcohol addictions, any of that stuff? How much are there hotlines? There's a place you can call? Yes, but then when you call them, how long is your wait time or your backlog or any of that? And so I think the military basketball community, there are so many people connected to in so many different ways that if everybody worked together, you could get active duty, retirees, dependents, veterans, everybody help if they needed it. And I think that's ultimately what my goal is, to use basketball to get everybody in the building and then start promoting these other things. Is it great to come have a good tournament and all that? Yes. I think that each individual league, I know you have the CMAC, the WAMAC, you have, nationals, you have the NBA, you have our tournament series, you have all these different, I think each one benefits service members in its own way. Would it be great to get everybody on the same page and figure out how we can all support each other, regardless of what your eligibility rules are or what this and that looks like? Absolutely, right? Do I think that it's going to happen? Probably not. I could tell you firsthand, I won a few tournaments last year, and I can tell you people that run those organizations, I didn't even get a congratulations from them. I ain't even heard from some of those people since. So how do I win your organization's event? And I don't even get a congratulations from you. What I can tell you is, will you play in our tournaments? Our goal is to make it fully self-funded. I understand it takes steps to get to that point, but we have 12 teams committed to our tournament right now. Not a single team has paid for their paid entry. Some teams have already received their travel stipends, which we did $1,000 travel stipends. And we want to grow that number, right, going forward to help offset the cost more. There was a team that, based off base support and stuff, couldn't make it. Say, hey, what do you need from us to help get you here, right? Some organizations are not in the spot to do that. If you told me it was going to take you $2,000-$3,000 and a vehicle rental, then we went to sponsors, we went to people, and we figured out how to make that happen to get these teams to come play. I think that if truly this was about putting the military service members first, you wouldn't see all this back and forth on social media. You wouldn't see people's commands getting called. You wouldn't hear things about, oh, I got money stolen from me. I got this, I got that. You wouldn't hear none of that, right? I can tell you right now that those things will never happen with our tournament series. I can personally guarantee that.
So, okay, let me ask a question then. So, I am a firm believer, no matter what, how you slice it, whether you're for profit or non-profit, you are a business. And some things you move differently when you're a business. So I asked this question: is the Veteran Day basketball tournament or y'all organization, what y'all putting together, is it going to be considered a business, or y'all going to be a couple of guys that's basically running, putting together a tournament, and saying so be it? So or is it considered a business, or?
I mean, businesses make profit, Alex.
I run a business, okay? So there's a lot of people that didn't believe in what we told them the first time when they came on, right? They were like, y'all going to give us money to come. You're not going to charge for this. You're not going to. I have charged nobody nothing except for their $450 refundable deposit. And to be real with you, half the teams we didn't even take those. Some teams did. They're going to get that back. They can text me right now and I get it back to them. I run a business, right? Would I like to make it a business or make it a nonprofit? So my ultimate goal is to make it fully self-funded.
Okay.
I personally, Alex Miller, Coach Dre, some of the other people we have no interest in making money off of this. I have no interest to pay for my flights to go to other venues on your dime. I want to pay for your flights to go to these venues, right? Based off what we're doing is trying to partner with other veteran-owned organizations to help sponsor this and continue to grow this. If you don't have to be veteran-owned, I'll take money from anybody, right? If they want to help support this. But the goal, what we've done, what I did for Colorado specifically, was went and found small businesses to help sponsor this event.
Okay.
So will we use that as tax write offs? There's a business side to that, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, there is no, if say we made a profit of $3,000 for this tournament, then it's going to roll over to the next tournament. And what I want to do is, if people have tournaments that are already established that they're running, I would like to partner with them, whether it be the NBA, whether it be the CMAC, WAMAC, Capital Classic, Nash, I don't care who it is. If you have a tournament that's already established, that's running, we want to come in and help you fund that tournament so that a team doesn't have to pay an entry fee. They can get a travel stipend to come to your tournament, because some of these tournaments have 8, 10 teams. They want a 12, 16. They can't even fill the tournament out because teams can't afford to go.
Right.
Period. That is all it is nobody is going to say no to playing basketball. They're going to say, I can't afford to go, so I'm going to go over here to 24 or Lifetime or Vasa or whatever it is in your area and play basketball. That's what they're going to do because it's cheaper. And so I would like to take the money that we raise from this event, roll it to the next event, raise money for that event, roll it to the next one and the next one. Is there a business aspect to that? Yes, because we want to give our sponsors tax breaks and we want to build that relationship. We want to be able to send, like I hoping to partner with a print company for shirts, uniforms, all that. I want to be able to say, hey, Coach Dre, work with them to get your next uniforms, right? They're going to cut you a deal. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? And now we're sending them business as well. But in the retrospect, they're really helping sponsor a team, travel and all that stuff, right? It doesn't have to be a competition. I'll say that. If I will say this, if the NBA is running a Puerto Rico tournament and Coach Ace and them want to reach out, we'll help play. But the difference is our bylaws are different. Period.
Right.
But there was 8 teams in Puerto Rico last year. There's 10 teams at the NBA Veterans Day tournament this year. I have 12. Could have had 16. We have 12. We could stock, and we can figure out the financial side of it ahead of time, right? Because that is really what's holding every organization back, is the financial side. If the NBA had $1 billion, they wouldn't make you pay for nothing either. If the CMAC, WayMac, and all of them had all this money, or Nationals, they're not going to charge you to come. That's not what these people are in it for. But obviously, everything does come down to, the almighty dollar. And so I think if military basketball had an unlimited budget, then, yeah, you see a lot more cooperation probably with everybody.
So something that you said, I want to definitely double back on what you just talked about, because it sounds like you have it sounds like right now, before getting into it and getting to the nuts and crannies of what the Veteran Day basketball tournament that y'all putting on is doing, it sounds like it's a good model. Just like no different thing. I thought the NBA and what they doing with the season was a good model, and of course the Nationals is, which all seems like saying this is a whole conglomerate. Everyone has their piece and can sit up and act accordingly. But I want to go with something what Dre said earlier, right? So, Coach Dre, when you was just speaking, you were speaking about how you coach a certain way, right? Like you have a certain bravado. Some might say you're rough around the edges. Some might say that you don't need to be a coach in or coaching these young guys. What do you say, or how do you speak on? What do you say to that? Or saying I'm very sorry.
I mean, the thing is with that, guys, yeah, I hear like the development it's all about the culture, right? You got to give guys. It's like it's made up in people's head that these players are afraid of like discipline or afraid of standard and things like that. What it is you're not presenting them something that's actually valuable enough to believe in, right? And so when I see the post about my program, how we recruit players, how I'm depriving them opportunities of development, how can you say that? Well, some of these players come to me for development in the offseason, right? I develop at one of the best levels in the military. I'm in the gym with my guys constantly, 5 in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, right? I'm constantly in the gym, right? In terms of opportunity, and we had our trials October 7th, then I flew to the Armed Forces tournament, right? How is it that a week off and within a month, by next week, our team's going to been and played in about 11 games. So there's plenty of opportunity, and that's without the stars into the Ray, Ryan, Cole, all these are. There's going to be 11 games played in 1 month, right? And so it's all about here. The guys understand when you join this program, it's all about you got to earn it. I'm not going to give you anything, right? There's no opportunity is no respecter of persons. So it's easy to come up part of a program when you understand you have to earn it. Don't tell me about what you can do at Nationals. Don't tell me about what you can do at Joe Hall if you can come down to Denver and Colorado and do it. So you couldn't perform in these moments in between the big tournaments, but I'm going to take opportunity away from stars who've shown that they can do it on that level to give it to you. No, it's an earn it program. And the thing is, people think that players are scared of that. Players are not scared of that. Players aren't scared of that at all, right? They're willing to, all right, I got to earn it, right? And if I don't, I don't. But because of this program, my players don't pay for anything, right? Transportation is covered, lodging is covered, tournament fees, we got all these uniforms, all of that. They understand that you may not be in the opportunity at that time that you want to be, but if you actually stay committed, then you'll grow into that role. We have plenty of guys that started at the back of the bench, had to come in the championship games and play hero, right? Because they've shown in the moments in between that I can perform. And so, if you have a program where you're constantly committed to guys, so I develop them at a high level, right? All throughout the summer, I didn't have an off season, right? I'm in the gym constantly. So I'm constantly developing, right? It doesn't cost anything. It's one of the best opportunities in the country to play basketball is down in Fort Sam. We got a team bus. We're constantly playing games. All those things. It's cost free. And then I'm committed. And so we don't talk about that part of the program. We don't talk about, where we go to the library and read to the kids on base. We don't talk about that part of the program. We don't talk about the breast cancer awareness program. We don't talk about the fact that we're going to be hosting a tournament for youth, right? For 4 teams to where they win $1,000. That's completely covered by Fort Sam. The kids that get in, they're not paying anything, right? Those youth teams. You don't talk about those things, right? I had a whole academy this summer. At the gym, I was training the kids in the gym for completely free, right? The dependents, the spouses, all those kids, they were completely free. I was in there 3 times a week, right? We don't talk about those things. We only want to talk about the negative aspect of my program because that fits their narrative. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? Guys can think what they think. It says something. It's not easy to win. They can say what they want about stacking teams. We've seen stacked teams before, right? It's not easy to win. You got to actually have some type of substance. And that's what my program has because it wins, when we're fully loaded, when we're not loaded, right? It doesn't matter. We have a standard, and that's what my program is built on. So, I mean, the rumors are what they are.
So I seen, of course, over the course of the last couple of weeks, particularly that you have been, like you said, you stay in the gym, you've been in the gym, you've been traveling all over the state of Texas competing against. I seen the Dallas Lightning, the Red Wolves. When I had my Lake Charles Imperial team, I played against against them. So I see that you've been in there. What has that been like? What has that experience been like so far?
I mean, it's been well. We had to play we just played this Saturday. We were really shorthanded. We only had about 6 players. It's been great, right? It gives the young guys a chance to see that their hard work is paying off, right? We got a guy in my program. He started last year, didn't start well. And I mean, the guys were upset with him, and I told him, it's you guys' kind of mentality that's dragging them down. And so, I constantly work with him. He's gotten better over the summer. He did a lot of work, and so. Having these games is more opportunity for them to play and them to see kind of, okay, we have improved. Okay, we do fit the mold. And then it gives them a chance to prove themselves, like I said. And so it's just like you go out there and you let it rip. Some players are able to, some players aren't. And so it's all about opportunity. That's all I want to provide guys with is opportunity. And so that's what it comes down to. That's why we're traveling everywhere. I try to go to every tournament, play as much as we can because the one thing you can't say is I don't provide those guys opportunity.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. Is that he sounds like he made a commitment. He committed to you. Y'all guys putting in work, but you're not playing any leagues. There's no other leagues there. Where are y'all getting? Where are you? And for Sam going to be able to compete? Is it going to be tournament?
I mean, it's the same thing with Coach Alex and CMB, right? We're going to play all the local. We play obviously the local ABA teams, college teams, and then these military teams. Even though we're not in a league, they're still willing to play us. And then really after Veterans Day, we got December where we're going to have games with ABA teams and a couple of military teams in Texas. And then January is Joe Hall, right, for MLK. February is San Diego. March, Fort Sam is going to be hosting the March Madness tournament. April, we're supposed to be going to the East Coast somewhere. May is Nationals. And so by the time January comes around, I mean, we won't be short of any games, right? There'll be plenty of opportunity for guys to play. It's just kind of the beginning of the season, making sure that, you kind of – a lot of guys are practicing right now, but you don't know what you're practicing for, right? You might get into a game, and the thing you've been practicing, y'all don't even need to be practicing, right? You got a huge hole and a deficiency in your team, all because you haven't played games at the beginning, right? So that's what right now, for me at least, in my opinion, that's what right now it's about, kind of always playing games so I can constantly have something to work on for my team, kind of form that leadership role because we got to figure out who's the leaders and who's not. He said, man, Duke, man, tell
Duke playing, take this off. Hey, everything is about choice. That's how we volunteered and all end up wearing a uniform at some point. So, hey, and then some people got picture in picture, so you can run it how you can get it how you live. So, for y'all guys' opinion, what is the best? Wait, they showing out. So, what is the best? Is there a better feeling with the independent move as opposed to being a part of a league or anything like that? Just any league, not particularly just NBA. Let's just say a league in general. Is that, do you feel like right now that's a better move since y'all both are somewhat basically independent?
I think so. I think The way we're doing the tournaments is, I think when we go to these tournaments, the tournaments are going to be a lot more competitive. I think after seeing, I still see seeing the schedules come out, some of the travels that teams are doing, or the teams. I mean, I can get better games here against, semi-pro teams or these colleges than traveling to play some of the military teams, to be real. So my guys are going to be, it's cool. But when you're working to play and you're playing the same teams in multiple weekends, how are you getting better? How are they getting better? And my take is, when you go to tournaments, you're gonna get people's best, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the regular season stuff is cool. It gives you games, but you can fill those games. I mean, realistically, it's 4 games a month. I mean, I just played last weekend against a semi-pro team, the weekend before against a semi-pro team. I mean, I could line those games up every other weekend if I wanted, or I can put my team in other tournaments. But what good does it do me to travel 8 hours, play 4 games, and then drive 8 hours back or fly, to play teams that may only have 6, 7 guys as well that got to travel? I don't, part of the thing for me is we talk about player safety, and I get it to an extent. We talk about people hitting the road and traveling and playing these games, but you tell me a team gets off work Friday, Saturday morning they leave at 04, they leave Friday, drive 8 hours, play 4 games on a Saturday and Sunday, get done, drive another 8, 9 hours, however long back, and we're talking, that's safe? That's player safety right there? I mean, I don't understand that logic, right? And then the weekend tournaments, the tournaments are pretty much always scheduled on holiday weekends, right? It makes sense. It allows time for travel. Guys can plan for it. They can put in for their time off. They have time to travel there, travel back. The way we're setting our schedules up is on Saturday, we have very minimal games. We have a resiliency event planned so that you can actually start building camaraderie and getting to know people from other programs. Because the thing with the military is most of y'all are going to end up somewhere else anyway, right? So it's good to start making contacts now. I just look at when we talk about a team traveling from Colorado to Texas on a weekend basketball trip and back in a weekend. There's no way. This just does not make sense. None of that makes sense to me. And it's on their expense and their dime. So I paid to do this, to drive. Shit, I think if I was to go all the way down to San Antonio, that's 14 hours for me?
Yeah, 13, yeah.
Play 4 games and drive back. It's 9 hours to Oklahoma to Tinker. It's 6, 7 hours to Riley, 8 hours to Offutt or something, another 6 down to Cannon. Like, on a weekend trip, turn and go. That's old school mentality there. Unless you can pay for these players to charter a bus that somebody else is driving them, you can't tell me that that's safe for players and coaches and whoever's on the road doing it. And some of the old heads are going to say, oh, that's what we did back in the day. Well, you were dumb then and you dumb now to keep doing it. All right? Like, let's be real. It's just stupid. And that's cool on the East Coast, because on the East Coast, in 6, 7, 8 hours, I can be through 3, 4 states. In the Midwest and the West Coast, that is dumb basketball. That's dumb, dumb, dumb. And I bet if most commands knew that players were doing that, they would nix that shit right now. Because most of these players ain't putting in out of bounds shits. And I know most COs ain't approving out of bounds shits for you to go 10 hours to play a basketball game on the weekend. So overall, being independent, I get to make those decisions, right? Do I want to drive 10, 12 hours to play a game? No. I go down the street and play Fort Carson or Peterson or Buckley. And luckily, in Colorado, we have that luxury that we have an abundance of teams like that here. But put your team in a men's league. Get better that way. Play a men's league. So win that first. Half the teams couldn't win their local men's league, and then we're traveling 12 hours to go get beat down by 30 points last season. That doesn't make sense. And I understand the rules for some people is why they only want base basketball. But that's why you're losing so many teams, because teams don't want to play like that. Nobody wants to travel, pay all this money, travel 8 to 10 hours to get smacked by 34 times and then come home. It doesn't make sense. So at least what we're doing is allowing people to recruit and bring in some players. Those players do have to stay with you for that season now. But at least you can be competitive. If I need a big, I can go find me a big. If I need a point guard, I can go find me a point guard. If I got to recruit against Justin for a player, then that's what we're going to do. Come where you feel comfortable. There's half these coaches out here, players don't want to play for. They're not in the gym developing players. They can't get them to practice. Most of the coaches, I hear this all the time, we can get, I got 6, 7 guys at practice. I got 8 guys, maybe, guys showing up late. This for what? Like,
happened to me too.
Like that happens to everybody, right? With their work commitments, right? So what happens when you're supposed to leave on a Friday or Saturday morning to go travel and 3 guys can't get off work or they got to go to work and they can't make it, and it's just a freaking nightmare at that point, right? So the way I look at it is I get to pick and choose what tournaments I want. At the way we're doing it now, I can help contribute to these tournaments that we go to as well, right? To offset the cost. A lot of this in military basketball, because you're not paid, you're not now you can play with who you want to play with. Go have a good time. Even if you go get beat by 30, at least you're going to go have a good time, hang out with your buddies, do whatever. But now you just got beat by 30, so now, hey, man, we got out-rebounded by 20.
Crazy.
Couldn't score the ball. Let me go recruit this player. Let me go do this or that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that makes it more enjoyable for players, right? Like, I understand the aspect of you're stationed here, you should play here. And that's what the NBA is for. Mm-hmm. That's what your base what you guys got? You got the on-base leagues. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Do that. But if you want to play competitive basketball and actually be able to do something, then not every base is equipped to field that type of team to go play at a high level. And so you're really limiting the amount of players that can get that exposure because you're getting smacked all the time. And it just doesn't work that way, So I think the independent route is good for us at the moment. But independent in the fact that I still want to work with these other leagues to try to be all encompassing, right? Like not one person has reached out to me and been like, hey, what do you think? And I was like, no, absolutely not. We don't know. That's not the case. Anybody can call me, anybody can reach out, and we will figure out how to incorporate kind of what our vision is with your vision, right? And that may take some give and take on your side and some give and take on our side, but we're willing to do that, right? Is everybody else willing to do that? I don't know, but we are. And so, again, it just has to be, people have to reach out, right? I heard people say, oh, Coach Miller's got this amount of time to reach out to me or it's over. It's over for them. But ain't nobody telling me that. That's a fact. Like, if you want to do something, we can all, again, I used to hear from people all the time. And since we published this, I've heard from none of those people anymore is all I'm going to say. It's cool to take my money before, but now that I'm doing it myself, I ain't heard nobody call me no more. So I guess that also tells me where we stand on that front. So,
just like you just saying that to get shot. What's going on, Mike? What's going on, Carl, man? Glad to have you. Appreciate you sharing this and get that word out. So, of course, what we have here is the Veterans Day basketball tournament that's basically going to pop off at the end of this tour, at the end of this week. So what we have here when I see this, and just like we was talking about earlier, is we know it tends to happen, right? Usually most organizations or most events or stuff pop up because there was a feeling of something lacking in some area, or people felt wronged, or some way in some case form or matter. It's happened in the military Greek letter organization community, D9 community, just in general. That's what happens, right? That's the nature of the beast. What brought the Veterans Basketball Tournament, y'all's rendition of it, the military basketball tournament, what brought this on?
Opportunity, right? That's all it really was. Me and Alex was talking, and with us not being in a league, right? What were our options to have a league? And then we were just talking about just like what's required, and even though we compete at a high level, we both agreed upon certain things for like how we think programs are supposed to be ran. And with that, Alex, with him being the business man that he is, that's how this was born. So it's just kind of like, combining visions. And then Alex, like you said, he's a businessman. He understands how this stuff works, and he's got a great a great community of people to help them out. And so that's kind of just how this came along.
And honestly, we were in the coaches chat, right? There's some coaches chats, and everybody just kept complaining, but and people were like, ain't nobody gonna do nothing. Like it's like we all complain, right? We all complain about this, or we complain. And again, no organization is going to make everybody happy, right?
Right.
Like, I truly believe that. Like everything we do isn't going to make everybody happy, right? So what we decide, I said, okay. So in the chat, I said, okay. So if I did this, what would y'all do? Everybody's like, oh, we in there, we're on it, we're doing it. Oh, that would be huge, da da da. So I said, okay, we're gonna do it. Not everybody that was in that chat that was talking committed to our event or idea either, right? Now maybe when we move to the East Coast, some of those it'll be more feasible. I also think people were hesitant because it's something new, right? Mm-hmm. So what my goal was, okay, like, hey, we can all keep talking about what makes things better, or we can do something about it, right? And again, I'm not saying that what we're doing is better than anybody else. What I'm saying is we're just opening another door, a different opportunity for people to do everything, right? Ultimately, the goal for me would be to work together with everybody. I'd like to have tournaments that don't conflict. I'd like to have events, weekends that don't conflict, work with people when they're publishing their schedule, we publish our schedule. So like we talked about trade before on, it's like, why is it seem divided? Why are we, it's like we're competing, like we don't want to compete, right? I want to, if you have a big event this week on the East Coast, let us throw one on the West Coast, right? I'll offer all the opportunity over here, you offer your opportunity over here, and work together for this stuff. Mm-hmm. But again, that doesn't happen because of people's own egos and pride and whatever, past drama they had or whatever their beliefs are. But what I know is that we can all work together. Like we could have everybody that's doing these different things could have published schedules so that this weekend in the WAMAC and CMAC don't conflict with the NBA, and the NBA doesn't conflict with Nationals, and Nationals doesn't conflict with this, and the veteran, our military stuff doesn't conflict with this, or we're partnering, right? Like it would be, think about this, like the military basketball tournament, if you saw that logo alongside an NBA logo for something, or you saw it with Nationals, or you saw it with, something host, that's really how you start getting all encompassing, right? Like, everybody has their own bylaws, but okay, so hey, maybe we're bringing. Ultimately, what the NBA bylaws to me matter is when you're in your regular season and for their final tournament, right? But when you're struggling to fill out your other tournaments, and some of that you could have brought in more teams because of if you had looser restrictions, or I'm not saying it's not military, it's still everybody that supports the military, right? And then every team is given the same guidelines and held to the same standards, right? I think that's the important part, is to know that even with our rules and our tournaments, every team's held to the same standard and bylaws. Like the teams that play here for Veterans Day. Now, I'm also a reasonable person, right? Like I have a player that may be playing for another team during the NBA season or the regular season that's playing with me this upcoming weekend. If their base team ends up in the same tournament as us, absolutely play with your base team. Like that's where you practice. That's the team you've been with for seasons and seasons. I'm not going to be a dictatorship where like, nope, you play with CMB this one weekend, now you're stuck with me. If your team is in that, go play with your team, right? All we want to do is offer the opportunity for everybody to play basketball. Right. And I got some other things planned. I got some mental health people coming in to speak people. I got some other. We want to start doing other things to also promote, and I want as many people to get those messages and know that those resources are available for them. And if you're not at the tournament or the event, and we're going to figure out live streaming stuff, but like, how are you going to get that information? How are you going to be able to get all the benefits that are there for you if you can't even get into the tournament just because your base team doesn't go? Mm-hmm. How do you know that you're not missing out on a connection to a mental health person that could save your life in 5 years, all because you couldn't go to this tournament because your base team didn't go? That's right. Not, I don't want that on me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I want to be able to offer these opportunities to everybody. Basketball is secondary to me, but basketball is the way to get everybody in the door for this stuff.
Yeah.
So, looking at this flyer, right? Of course, straight to the point. In Denver, the who, what, where, when, why. What sticks out, of course, is the open tournament aspect, right? Open military tournament. So, with that being said, open military tournament, that could be a term thrown around loosely sometimes. of course, there are some, like you can continue to say, bylaws. So there are some things. There are rules and regulations to this. What are some of the rules and regulations that's governing the open military tournament?
I mean,
So
Alex already talked about it where he gave his example. I mean,
Okay.
for this tournament, that's where for our platform, that is where the stop ends, though, right? You can
Okay.
play with your, if there's a tournament to where your local base team that you play with is in it, then it's with them. But then, you're with Alex for these tournaments, so that means that you're with Alex. There's no going to play for Alex and then in these tournaments switching to me.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And so that's kind of just where the stop ends. It's like, all right, I'm either with my base team because obviously your base team may not want to be a part of this. Right. And so, but like when we go, if, the plan is if this platform is a part of like Joe Hall or, the Marines tournament in San Diego in February, Chris Crawford, then obviously, if there's a player from that coast or a player from down here that usually plays with their local base team, then they can play with them for that tournament, right? But we're having our own championship. So that's the reason why we're all this. It's not like, while Nationals, if it is a part of this, it may be a part of this, and that is a championship. Alex is having his own championship in July. And so that's kind of where all this eligibility stuff, that's where it matters. Right, because now you play with you've got your local team. Now our championship, right, is coming up, and so that's where kind of all the eligibility matters. It's because this is where the stop ends basically in July for this series.
Yeah, and we don't want nobody missing out, but we also don't want it to be a free for all. Like, I don't want you to come play for CMB and be like, I don't like Coach Miller, so now I'm gonna go jump to Coach Drake. Like, what we want to do is put the emphasis and the responsibility on players and coaches to actually have to build those relationships and be accountable for their decisions, right? Without taking away the opportunity for you to play basketball, right? I don't want to see a player play for 4 different teams, a new team every tournament, right? I want to see them. We do want to see teams build. Where you start right now at the Veterans Day tournament, you may have different pieces come July, right? But you still should pretty much have the core guys that you had, right, for the tournament in Veterans Day, right? Now guys will deploy, guys might PCS, whatever. Like, we're not trying to dictate who and where you play all the time. We just want you to play.
And which sounds like a definitely a great situation. So is there, like you said, so there's going to be more than just this particular tournament. There's going to be other opportunities under quote unquote you guys' umbrella.
Correct.
So you have.
Yep. So what we're trying to do is partner with some other existing tournaments, if not create new tournaments as well in different parts of the country. We have a qualification system where you can get qualified for that July tournament. I'll get into why you want to qualify for that in a second. But what we want to do is, if you come to a tournament, you receive so many points based off how you finish at that tournament. We'll probably come out with our own little rankings, just so that it's not arbitrary when you start going into tournaments about how we're ranking or putting teams in pools and stuff. This first one kind of was just based off of what I knew from last season or the teams that I know are coming and track record, so to say. But each team basically can qualify and build points to get to that final tournament. That final tournament, we're doing it in July. That way, we have talked. We know there was the Orlando tournament, but it sounds like, we've talked to some people that they're cool with us kind of taking that one over. Not saying we're doing it in Orlando, but basically we're going to offer a cash prize for that one for the program that wins it. And depending on how our sponsorships and the money that we carry over tournament to tournament, all that will go back into the programs that come and participate and qualify. So probably, if the 2 teams in championship games will receive, a cash prize for that tournament to help fund their programs and their players moving forward. Because again, everything is about giving back to the service members and the programs that support us as well. I don't want to be 5 years into this and not be able to give back to anybody and nobody say that we've given them anything back. I think that there's so many avenues that you can create sponsors and generate funds that you can easily support every team in this. I think by the time July comes, we got 24 teams there. we could have a women's division, which is our goal. I know there's been a lot of interest in that, and that is definitely on our agenda. There's some things to figure out with that because most tournaments you go to, you see most 6 to 8 women's teams tops. If I can get 8, that'd be great. But we want all those teams to be able to be competitive as well. And so finding that many women's players is hard to get competitive games in the military. But that's something we're looking at. And once we do get to that point after this first one, I look forward to kind of engaging some of the women's players and asking them, like there's women's semi-pro teams everywhere. And I think that there's a lot of military members, service members that are better than a lot of those female semi-pro players. So it'd be cool to bring some of them into play. And I've seen that done. The NBA has done that. And I think that that'd be cool. That offers more opportunities for exposures and people to be able to play like that. And so I think that's, the ultimate goal is to have, a team full of 24 men's teams and 12 women's teams and, cash prize for first and second at every tournament, Are we there yet? No. I mean, in theory, we could be there, but I want to build to that kind of organically instead of just, throwing a whole ton of money into it. I think that what we've told people in the last live was like, we want this to be a collective of people's ideas. It'd be great to get, we have the Marines involved. My brother's there, the Air Force with Dre, some Army guys, some Navy guys. Would like to engage everybody on what their thoughts are and how to make this everybody's league, not just, Coach Miller and Coach Dre. And I don't want to ever to be like, oh, they're the end all be all for what happens. Like, absolutely not. Like, we understand that the military brings unique circumstances and challenges to tournaments and travel and pay and all this stuff. And so we're open to hearing from everybody how we can make that, good for everybody.
So who are some of the teams that's going to be participating at the end of this week?
So I can tell you the pools for sure. We could just give you the pools that we have and kind of when the tournament's kicking off. So we do have 4 Colorado teams in it for this weekend. So our first pool is going to be CMB, Scott Air Force Base, and Buckley Air Force Base. Our second pool is Camp Pendleton, Fort Carson, and Hoopers, which is a team out of California made up of Marines as well and some Navy guys. It's kind of hard to get the Marines at this time of year because of the Marine Corps ball, so getting 2 teams of Marines out of California is pretty good. Then we have Fort Liberty, Maelstrom, and Primetime, which Primetime is a mix of veterans and active duty guys that are kind of traveling from California and really kind of all over the country to play in this tournament. And then our last pool is Fort Sam, Nellis Air Force Base, and Peterson Space Force Base. Originally, my goal was to not have any Colorado teams in each pool, 1 per pool. And we had a little bit of different pools, but with some travel issues, we had some teams that couldn't play on Friday. I know that flyer says we're starting the 9th, but it's actually starting the 8th. The facility has 4 courts, basically in a square. And so we were trying to have all the pools going at the same time, but there was 3 teams that couldn't get in to really play like on Friday. And then Saturday at the venue, they have like a Kevin Garnett 3-on-3. So we moved those games to start later for those teams on Saturday. So 1 pool will play Saturday while the other 3 pools will play Friday. And so but Saturday is pretty much was intended to be an off day to do a resiliency day, have some camaraderie, get everybody together, eat, drink, do some bowling, some pool, talk some trash outside of basketball. And then also have some of our guest speakers speak to them that day. And so we kind of had to adjust a little bit with those 3 teams' travel schedule. And then Sunday is our pool play. We have our first round of play-ins. So the top team from each pool will get a first round bye straight to the quarterfinals. 5 through 12 will basically do a play-in. Everybody goes to bracket play. From there, it's single elimination. The way we have it set up is if you see a team if you're 1-2 in your pool, there's no way you can see that team again until the championship. And this first one was kind of hard because we don't really know what everybody's bringing, right? Like based off the way we have it too, you can recruit and you can bring in who you want. Anybody could win this tournament. We don't know who's with who. I thought about asking for rosters so I could get an inside peek, but I didn't. I just kept it, so I'll find out when we get there as well. as far as eligibility.
Dre got that shit. I like
I thought about it. I wanted to. As far as eligibility, there's no official check-in, man. I think that everybody that's involved in this has been doing this long enough, man, that we know somebody's in the military. If you bring in a guy, man, that comes out and he's averaging 25, 30 a game, killing, he's 6'6". Okay. I'm probably going to ask for his. I'm going to ask for his stuff ahead of time, right? Here's my thing. Everybody is in the military. You have you bring your CAT cards, bring your VA cards. Yeah. You don't have a VA card, bring your DD-214, have an electronic copy of it, whatever it is. Just in case we have to verify, right? Again, we would like to go back to the integrity system here, right? The honor system. I think if there's a guy that is killing and we don't know, come on, like me and Dre been out here recruiting, like Dre especially, he would have found him. So there's the all military coaches. Everybody knows who's in the military, right? Even if you played 10 years ago.
Chances are someone remembers.
I played 11 years ago when I got out, and people still know that I played all Marines. So it's like you can't go to a tournament with an ineligible player and it not get found out. It might not get found out in pool play, but definitely by bracket play, we're going to know. Yeah. And so that's on the coaches, right? That is strictly on the coaches. And I will say this, if you get caught with an illegal player, man, like they're going to be some type of consequences, right? I really think like, if you get your program, the next time your deposit's not refundable, or you paying for the next tournament or something, right? Would rather just never go down that road. I don't even want to know, right? Like, I don't even want to know what kind of consequences we have to come out with because, again, this is to support everybody. I have civilians involved in my program that play with us when we're not playing in military events. But I'm not going to slide them into a military tournament. Now, my assistant coach, they coached at the finals. Would easily play all armed forces anywhere. Any branch. Pick him. He's all USA. But I'm not going to slide him in to a military tournament. Like, come on, man. And so that's kind of where we're just relying on the honor system. Those are your pools that we're going to start with. Games will kick off at 1500 on Friday. There'll be one court open since we don't have all the teams there until Saturday. There'll be a warm-up court. We're trying to think right now. The only thing we haven't fully figured out is streaming. So I know that's always a big thing for people that don't make it. I think we'll be able to go live on a few Facebook pages and figure some stuff out there just to keep kind of, everybody in the loop. But again, like if you're close to Colorado and you want to come check it out, I mean, it's a great venue to host at. And we would love to have as many people as possible and then continue to grow this going forward.
So I have a question, right? And it's usually the hardest thing for a coach or a player to answer. So the question is, outside of CMB in Fort Sam, who is the team? Oh, well, we don't know. But based on what you know or what you usually know, who would be the team to look out for in this particular tournament? When you remove yourselves from the equation and not beat on chest, who are we looking at?
Camp Pendleton.
Camp Pendleton.
Yeah. I mean, Pendleton has a bunch of all-Marine players out there, so if they come now, there's a little divide right now between Camp Pendleton and the Hoopers. So originally I didn't have them in the same pool. I got a special request. Stuff going out there, a little beef between my Marine brothers, so I'm gonna let them settle it here. Pendleton, and I think Fort Liberty is
with Mo.
It depends on who they travel with, right? Like Fort Liberty is a very good team. They can come with a very stacked team, or they could come not so good.
And Peterson got some pickups, man.
Peterson has went out and recruited a little bit. Coach Rob down there, so he could come.
They got some pickups, man. I know what they love.
Another sleeper team is Primetime. So I've heard, I know the people on Primetime. I know what they have coming, and I know that they also did some recruiting, got some ex-all Navy guys coming with them. So I hold my judgment on them because originally I had Primetime in my pool because we got a little beef going back and forth too. But I just think they're too old.
Yeah, and then Nellis is bringing 17 people. So
Nellis got a lot of people.
Yeah,
I
don't know what they have going on.
I think
they are bringing 17. Literally, like they're bringing 17.
Carson is right down the street, so they got a lot of people coming.
Yeah, I mean,
Buckley is literally 10 minutes from the gym, so they definitely have kind of home court.
Yeah, they said they got what they say 16.
Yeah, so they definitely have home court. But that's on Justin. He wants you to cater that. You know, we do have an event catered on Saturday for everybody.
Completely free of cost.
It's crazy. I know Ortega's going to be in attendance. He's playing with someone out here, so it's going to be good to see him out here. We got a few All Air Force guys, a few All Army guys come in. We got.
It's not me. That's the crazy part. I don't have any Armed Forces players.
I got a few. I don't have.
I don't never go. No, I got one. Yeah, I got one from the Navy team.
The thing about it is
Zach, the backup point guard.
What's good for other teams is when you see a Fort Sam, or you see a CMB at this point, or you see a Camp Pendleton, or like Langley at other turns, or Eggland. These are teams that other teams get hyped to play because they're like, all right, these dudes, they talk trash. It's going to be a game, right? And if your players don't come to play, you're gonna get blown out, right? Like you're like, damn, like I can't show up bullshitting again.
Hey, don't target me.
Fort Sam definitely.
We coming down.
So that's the thing. Like you asked about Dre's coaching style. Like I've obviously had to coach against Dre. I took 2 hard losses to him last season. And when we're before the game, me and Dre, I'm like, yo, Dre, no, we ain't pausing the game no more. No, Dre, stay over there. Shut up. Hey, don't the ref. I'm working the refs on Dre. So it's like on the sidelines, like me and Dre, we are not cool.
Yeah.
But when we outside of it, like we can, and I hope it gets to be for everybody, right? Like when you're competitive to a respectful level, right? But outside of it, once the game's over, move on, get ready. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you lose some close games, sometimes you get some blowouts. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for some really competitive basketball this weekend. I think definitely by the time we get down to the final 8, I think those games are going to be really good. I don't know. You just never know, man. I think what I'm hoping outside the other 3 Colorado teams is I'm hoping, Dre ain't going to be able to come up here and yell and scream because of altitude. So I hope he's going to be bent over there on the sideline, can't breathe. I'm hoping the guys from California aren't going to be able to breathe. That's my goal. Liberty, I hope they can't run. I hope all their lungs explode. So that's kind of, the home court advantage in Colorado for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a good event. I know the only thing I'm worried about is we got a little bit of weather coming in, but it's supposed to be south of Denver, so I think everybody should be good. Travel arrangements should not be affected. We'll see how those first games play out. On the schedule, you'll notice we did go 3, 5, and 9. Some teams kind of have back-to-backs, but they're 2-hour time slots, so it's not a true back-to-back. You have time, and we can move things a little bit. So we definitely – that's why we also did the rest day on Saturday so that teams could be pretty fresh for Sunday so that you're not playing 5 games before you get into pool play or 4 games out of pool play. Like we want everybody to have a good rest day on Saturday. Plus, we understand it's a holiday. We want guys to be able to go out, have a good time, see Colorado. The weather's supposed to be nice up from Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we want guys to go out. We want guys to have a good time responsibly, obviously. We'll have things in place for that as well. And that's why we kind of let you kind of have a rest day on Saturday. Even the games don't start till 5 on Saturday. So we want you to be able to go out Friday, have a good time. Have Saturday, get up, go have a good day. Go hike. Go ahead. Go hike. Especially y'all that don't do it. So your legs are
really be hiking. I can tell you that.
And so we definitely we want it to be a basketball tournament, but we wanted to incorporate other things. We realize this guy's off time, and it's kind of their time away from their respective jobs and duty stations. And so we're trying to build that time in, which is why the venue was so perfect, because of having 4 courts. You just don't realize how fast you can go through a 12-team tournament with 4 courts.
And it's connected to the mall, man. It's going to be a good.
Yeah, you can walk from the gym into the mall. You forgot socks, shoes. There's another food court in there. There's a concession stand inside the gym. All of it's set up, man.
And I'm excited, man. Like I said, even when I was talking about, you get to see a different version of Fort Sam, this weekend. like I said, it's the same standard though, right? We won't have all the guys that guys are used to us having, but it's. I mean, you can underestimate us if you want to. That's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Yeah, looking at the pools, I think most of the pools are fairly competitive, and so going forward, these 12 teams will kind of all get a points and a ranking system. So, like, say these exact same 12 teams showed up to the next tournament, and we were doing them, then whoever won this would be our 1 seed, and then so forth in our pool.
Okay.
And that's kind of how we'll be able to do it going forward. But obviously, this first one was a little more different and had to take into consideration travel. And then when we go to a tournament, we have new teams. You're gonna have to fill into the bottom if we don't know. I may have seen you play other places, but you could really come with a whole different team than what we've been seeing you play on other military circuits. And so you'll kind of fill out the bottom of the bracket and then kind of earn your stripes against, the teams that are kind of proving themselves.
With that, does it reset after the championship? Because, of course, you have some people might decide, like, if I have the opportunity, I would like to go play here. So does the season reset with the teams reset after the championship? Or do you, like you were just saying, do you continue on and just have
What do you mean by reset? Like the rosters?
Yeah, to be able to have like other people. So if you play with them, next
season
or your
you can go play anywhere.
Like you can play with your base team.
Okay.
He's talking about after our final tournament in July started. Yeah, they'll reset. You're free to go wherever. It's almost open recruiting at that point. Everybody.
After July, it's like
now everybody in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And even this season, we're not unregional. So like, say you're a player that plays you're on the East Coast and you chose to play for C.O.B. and it's just the traveling doesn't work and it's not. Then we'll discuss it and we can most likely just allow you a release back to
case by case, yeah.
But it's also not going to be like that's pretty much your one freebie. I'm not going to allow that. Oh, now you went to that one. You should have done your homework before you did it. You know what I'm saying? And so we want to allow players to be able to play where they want to play. But again, that's why we're saying the coach and player relationship is important, right? So now just because you got stationed on that base, don't mean you have to play for that base because our goal is to do a tournament every month. You're still going to get a lot of basketball in compared to now. It's great. It's a perfect scenario is if you play for your base team in the NBA, the CMAT, multiple things. You're playing a lot of games. Then you're playing in these tournaments with someone else. You're getting the utmost. And if that coach, that's what we're kind of trying to emphasize to the coaches, like be supportive of your players doing that, right? Like encourage your players to play other places for other teams, see other systems, play against different players, get as much basketball exposure as they can because not everybody's job allows for that. You may have a player that's sitting in Wyoming that don't never do nothing, Mr. Perkins, and so he can go play basketball all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But then you got players that are a higher duty station, higher deployment tempo, higher training ops, whatever it is, and they can only play on their base, right? So I encourage coaches to allow your players to go play basketball. If your team's not going to play somewhere, don't be that coach that's like, oh, your team's not going, you can't play. Oh, you gotta have loyalty. You gotta like no, because when your team is in, if you as the coach would have set it up so your team could go, then he'd be playing with you, And so that's where I want to encourage coaches to allow your players to go play basketball, even if you're not going. I encourage coaches, if your team's not going, but you can come to the tournament, come. It's a great recruiting event. We're trying to start including recruiting into this. Go there, recruit, scout, figure out how to make your team better, figure out how to beat this team. That's kind of how I'm looking at it, to make it not just, these 12 guys PCS here and they're assigned to wherever they have to play there. Like, no, that's not the case anymore.
Well, of course, it has been a great talking to y'all. Additionally, like we said, we support every for in which, as we said before, tournament in which is going to be popping off Veterans Day. That's going to be taking forth in North Crawley, North Fort Worth, Texas. It ain't guaranteed. From the 8th to the 11th. If you can't get on a team, aren't on a team, then you potentially may be playing on the Veterans Day team with the Military Basketball Association and their tournament going on as well. And of course, as was mentioned before, the Joe Hall Classic is coming up. Well, are y'all going to be competing? Dre, I know you are. It's in your backyard. So, but Alex, are you going to be pulling up to the Joe Hall Classic this year?
That is the plan, yes, sir. There's a tournament coming up in December as well that we're looking at in San Diego that we're looking at helping support and sponsor. We're definitely trying to work something out with Joe Hall and get as much participation down there as possible. My next big one that I'm really looking at is the Chris Crawford Classic out in San Diego in February with Coach Dave Anderson out there. So
I might try to pull up to that one. That might be a good one.
that one's going to be a good one. There's going to be a lot of teams there. The goal, I mean, Pendleton has great venues. It was a great tournament. I know it's kind of the same weekend as the Capital Classic, so it's kind of hard to pull East Coast teams away from the Capital Classic. But again, there was a lot of watered down teams at the Capital Classic last year. So again, our goal is to get the most competitive tournament with the top tier players from all armed forces playing in these tournaments. So you can go win the Capital Classic and then come down to Nationals and get bounced out. I believe that happened last year. Or you can come out and test yourself out in Pendleton against Fort Sam going to be there?
Oh, where?
In Pendleton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%.
C.O.B. going to be there. So, I mean,
100%.
that's 1-2 in the country from what I understand.
1,000% will be in San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah.
See what I can do about that pull up in San Diego in February.
Yeah.
Jeremy, before we get out here, any last words, anything you got to say? Big ups on the teams, the squads, you know what I'm saying? It's y'all floor.
No. Hey, man, like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited for this weekend for Fort Sam basketball. I'm excited. You know, we get to showcase our standard, and that's what it's all about. So I'm excited.
I just want to thank, everybody that's coming out to support the tournament. Anybody, in the future, any of the teams coming, if you need anything, everybody has our contact. Our goal is to make it possible for everybody to start attending these. Also from what I know, there's at least 2 other Veterans Day tournament. Coach Nick's out in Camp Lejeune has one going on as well. To give the East Coast teams an opportunity. Al Mayon and Coach Ace down at Fort Worth, so there's going to be a lot of basketball played. Hope everybody stays injury free, travels safe. I think that at the end of the day, that's kind of the most important thing is keeping everybody injury free and getting to and from, your whatever tournament you choose to go safely. And I just hope everybody, realizes hopefully at one point everybody can come together, right? It's Veterans Day. It's a holiday for the military. And it would be good to, at one point, imagine having 30 military teams at a tournament because everybody pulls together to make one big tournament. I mean, that'd be your ultimate show of, unity there. And if we can find a way to make it so that everybody is not paying to do that, that's even better.
Oh yeah, the last thing, one more thing is I wanted to say, he ain't gonna showcase them all, but I think that the thing that we try to hide from is like people got to stop being too cool, right? Everybody enjoys recognition, and so part of what Alex did that I think is just crazy about this tournament is the awards that's going to be given out, right? He's got first place rings, second place rings, an MVP of the game, an MVP of the tournament, a first place trophy, backpacks. Like he's doing basically the tournament was free for you to enter. You basically got paid $1,000 for a stipend to travel. And if you do your job, you recruit, you practice, there's actually real reward, right, for being a part of this if you actually come and do your job. So it's not like, oh, guys, just come down, make some money. No, there's a benefit to winning this. There's real prizes a part of it. So, like I said, man, I'm just excited for the brand and what we have going on. This is just the beginning, right? This is just to prove that everything Alex said, everything that we said on that first live is going to actually happen. And then from here, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and then we also have some college coaches and scouts that are going to be there. We actually got I got a couple NBA and NFL players that do some training around here. They're going to pull up as well, just to kind of grow this. It's cool to open the gym doors. We're not charging admission. Get some recruiters in there. Get some guys, a different look at the military side of, military athletics. I know a lot of the semi-pro teams we've been playing, people are like, oh, they in the military, and then we're beating them by 30. And it's like, yeah, they are. Shout out, I don't know the young man's name that played for Langley, is playing out at Miracosta College right now. I just saw some highlights of him dunking on a few people. Yeah, Romel. Yeah, so, there's opportunities outside of this. And that's kind of what we'd like to promote as well. So shout out to him and, the coaches at Langley for getting him over there. So, and Coach Mitch, I know Coach Mitch kind of recruited him and coaches over at Miracosta from the Marines. So would love to see more of those stories.
Indeed. So, of course, for those that stayed and tuned in, for those that seen, greatly appreciate it. Of course, y'all know who to get to or how to get to if you have questions. Like I said, there's more tournaments potentially coming up. So there's a whole nother, it's the same movement. It's just a different branch of that movement. In-state is wants to get to got the same goal, and that's to support and promote military basketball. I call it the armed forces athlete, because though you have put on uniforms, there's so much more to those said athletes. So greatly appreciate Coach Miller, Coach Dre coming on. I'm very sure we'll do this again. I'm gonna try to check out what any lives and stuff that's going on. I just started a different job, or else I probably would have tried to pull up there. Well, actually, I would have been in New Orleans, but what I'm saying, like I said, I'm gonna try to definitely pull up to one of y'all events to see what the vibe is. Greatly appreciate y'all. Thank you, everyone, coming out. We'll holler at you. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your night. Game, Monday Night Football, whatever it is.
Yes, sir.